360,000 children were injured in school during 2005, but almost triple that number were injured at home. Schools may be relatively secure, but do you know how safe your classroom is? Can you identify hazards in your school for yourself and your pupils? Phil Lapham is a Year 6 teacher. He works in a new build primary school constructed with safety in mind. Wide corridors and no stairs. With his help, this programme is going to show potential dangers to look out for in a classroom. He's guided by expert Joe Crickson as they undertake a video journey through his school. Joe offers advice on how to spot hazards in order to make your school the safest it can be. For the purpose of this programme, some of the hazards have been set up.
So now walking into the main corridor, I just want to see how many hazards you can actually spot.
Okay.
Okay.
We're just coming up to one that I can recognise at the moment. So if I could just stop it.
Sure.
Just about here.
Yeah.
These are our Key Stage 1 book storage units. A bit haphazard, and quite often the books are just scattered around when the children come out.
So the potential there for tripping.
Tripping,
is, you know,
and slipping.
Yeah, exactly. And if the children, I suppose, at access, they gain their, get hold of their books from that storage area, at that age, they're not going to slip the boxes back onto the shelf, etc. So there's potential for them to fall off and then, you know, create quite a hazard there. Again, it's a brilliant storage area. It's in a wide enough corridor to be able to place that. Perhaps edging on the end of the shelf would stop that possibility of, you know, them slipping off.
Pulling them out.
Yeah,
as well.
exactly. Yeah.
One thing I don't notice walking through those every day is that the fire doors are open.
That's common in so many schools, especially with a long corridor like that. You've got a long run. I guess what could have happened in the design stage was you can get automatic door releases that are magnetic and interlinked to the fire alarm system.
Oh, right.
So had that have been put in place, as soon as the fire alarm goes off, then those doors will close and then you've got your fire barrier.
Yeah, that's the busiest part of the school as well.
Exactly,
so
yeah.
Not a lot of people actually notice that they're fire doors.
Anything along here?
Maybe the astronauts dangling from the ceiling.
Right, it's a fire corridor. You've got a lot of combustibles displayed within that corridor. Although it's fantastic, that's a really good, you know, design, and it's very encouraging. But I think perhaps that would be better placed somewhere else. It's good signage, good fire signage there.
Yep. Right, just stop it there in the fire extinguisher. I'm not quite sure what the different fire extinguishers do.
Okay, there are three main types. One of them is water, which is used for combustible materials like wood, paper, etc. Second type is CO2, which is used for electrical items. Yeah. And again, schools now are getting a lot more computers and electrical items within school, so they need to be, you know, readily available. And the third most common type is foam, which is a multi-purpose, so you can use it on both. Yeah. And to be honest, that's, you know, in terms of planning and thinking and looking forward, we need to be looking to perhaps replace these with multi-purpose ones, because the last thing you want to do in an emergency is think, okay, what fire extinguisher do I need? Yeah. You need it quick, and you need, you know, not to think of that. Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, can you notice anything here?
The chairs narrowing in the corridor. Should there be a fire alarm? It's also someone could trip over it.
Yeah.
I've probably walked past that chair several times in a day. Whose responsibility would it actually be to move it? It's quite a difficult one, really.
It's not a significant hazard, but in an emergency situation, it does really narrow that corridor. Yeah. Just around the corner, the corridor really opens up. Yeah. I would just pick it up and put it around the corner.
And the cleaner's cupboard.
Right.
That cupboard's usually kept locked.
Right, okay. We've opened the door for the purposes of filming, but I just want to show you how it would look if a child had access to this cupboard. There's a wide array of equipment and materials in there that children would be really attracted to, and could actually damage themselves if they got hold of it and squirted it in their eyes, or, you know, inhaled any of it. Because of the hazards in there, that is a priority to make sure that is locked. Yeah. So somebody would need to stop what they're doing and go off and find the key holder and make sure it's locked.
Yes.
Okay.
Coming up to my classroom.
Okay. So it's Year 6 pupils?
Yep, aged 10 and 11, so in we go.
Okay.
So I just stop it there.
Yep.
That's the interactive whiteboard. I use that a great deal in the day. I do try to protect the children from the bulbs and myself. But, sometimes it can be quite difficult when you're working in front of the board.
Where's your projector placed within this classroom?
My projector's actually suspended from the ceiling.
Which is good because, you know, if they are in the middle of the classroom, that in itself can create quite a hazard sometimes. Because they're an interactive resource.
Yes.
So the children will step up to them quite a lot. And it is important that you educate the children not to look directly into that beam of light because it is quite strong.
That's my box of odds and ends and
Big
junk.
box.
Big box on a small shelf. Very high up as well.
Yeah, I think, you know, heavy items at the bottom, lighter items at the top.
Yeah.
But how do you actually access that? How do you reach it?
I can just reach up to it and get it down with my fingertips.
Right, so there's a bit of balancing.
It's quite precarious and it's quite heavy as well.
Yeah. You've got a lot of high-level displays, haven't you?
Yes, and that's very high actually. It doesn't look particularly high there, but I have great difficulty putting those up.
Yeah.
I have to borrow a step ladder to get them up quickly.
Right, okay. And you do that, do you? And
yes.
Easily accessible step ladder?
Not really, no, it's at the other end of the school.
Right.
But it's quicker. I like to get things up quickly.
Yeah.
And it's the quickest way possible.
Perhaps we need to look at a case history of what can actually happen and perhaps what can go wrong.
Okay then.
It was the end of the day, all the children had gone home, everybody was busy in their classroom, and I had a display that I wanted to put up, it being the beginning term and the frantic covering of walls, and I didn't want to go and get a stepladder, too much effort. I climbed up on the chairs, couldn't quite reach, so just sort of lifted my leg up slightly just on the edge of the bookcase, sort of like balance. The bookcase collapsed, books went everywhere, and I fell on top, basically. I severely bruised my thigh on the edge of the bookcase. I hurt my back, I hurt my wrist, and I hurt my knee. When I was on the floor in a pile of books, I think I was actually quite shocked about what had happened, and there's that moment where you're not quite sure what you've done.
Well, that's something I've done quite often, standing on chairs and tables to put displays up. It's just a question, as she said, of time.
If the display that you're going to try and put up is out of normal reach, then you need a correct style ladder. That ladder has to be well maintained, and you need to be competent and comfortable to use that ladder. The work needs to be planned. That looked like it was a 5-minute job, where actually it's not, because there was chairs in the way, there was a bookcase in the way. Within that footage, she mentioned that it was the end of the day and everybody had gone home.
Yeah.
So you've got a lone working aspect there. You know, you're working at a height. What would happen if she had nobody around to call for help? So you've got to think about these things and plan it. It's not a 5-minute job. If you witness an accident like this while you're on duty, then you'll know whether you're a qualified first aider or not. Your responsibility is, if you're qualified, to administer first aid to make sure that that pupil is okay. If you're not a qualified first aider, your responsibility is to seek medical assistance, to seek a first aider as soon as possible. Once that's happened, then the casualty is dealt with in a first aid room that each school has to have a designated first aid area, and it has facilities within it. One of the most important things when dealing with accidents and incidents is that all of the details are recorded. So all of the details of the accident itself and any treatment given. You also have to notify the parents or guardians. And remember that you have to keep these records for some considerable time, because a pupil can actually put in a claim up until the age of 21. Okay, so we're going into the school hall now.
The hall really concerns me at times. If I just stop it there, there's some of our large equipment.
There is a legal requirement on that to make sure that it's checked, inspected by a competent person on an annual basis.
Another thing on that sometimes worries me is the actual training for new staff about where the hanging boards go. Because if you don't hang them in the right place, then the whole thing won't fit in properly.
Right, okay.
And if they're hung from the wrong side, then sometimes they're really unsafe.
Yeah, absolutely. So that really just, you know, validates the point of whoever's using that has to be competent and know what they're doing.
Yes.
They have to be trained, and you know, you'll have a newly qualified teacher come in, or perhaps a supply teacher, and it's getting that message across to them as well.
Yes, yeah. Right, let's move on. That's the PE storage cupboard.
Okay, nice to see somebody working at a height there but using step ladders.
Yes.
That's good.
Yeah. And that's our stage area.
Yep. I can see you've got some quite high lighting there, a lighting rig.
Yes, yeah. We use those for productions, various coloured spotlights.
Right, okay. And
They're controlled from wall level, but they're not remote, so they need moving around.
right, I was going to ask, can you actually position them from wall level, but obviously not.
No.
So then you'd need to think about who's going to access that equipment working at a height, what equipment they're going to use.
Yeah.
Are they okay to do that? Are they competent to do that? Do they know what they're doing? You'd need to think of all of those things in terms of that person's safety. Okay, in terms of that lighting rig, let's have a look at a case history in terms of somebody that was doing exactly that and what happened to them.
Okay.
My name is Ed Haslam. I used to work as head of music in a large comprehensive in Bristol. I was working towards a production of Fame. The drama teacher had asked me to rig the lights for the show. I was sitting on a platform on top of the ladder with the students handing me the lights one by one. We were moving to the last position that we needed to get the last light in place when the wheels on the telescope locked. The tower started to tip over, and I knew that it would be quite serious if I sat sitting on top of it, so I jumped clear. I thought at the time when I was falling that I'd probably sprained my ankle, not realising, falling onto parquet flooring is like falling onto rock, and it's completely solid. My wife was told that they were going to amputate my right leg below the knee. Fortunately, actually things didn't turn out as badly as that. I just didn't realise at that moment what the consequences would be for my life, and it has completely changed since then.
Right, I mean that was a serious accident there, and the gentleman was damaged for life basically. What you should do is, first of all, there should have been a complete risk assessment of that activity carried out.
Yeah.
And everybody involved in that activity should know exactly what the working practices were to make that activity safe. He mentioned in there about using equipment and the wheels locked. Before that was brought in for use, there should be a check on it to make sure that it is fit for purpose and it has had a maintenance record and maintenance carried out on it. And one of the final points that we need to remember there is that person that's been asked to do that job, are they competent? Do they know what they're doing? Have they had specific training?
Yeah.
One of the key areas in identifying if you're competent or not is being able to say, actually, I can't do that. I've never done it before. I need some training on it.
Yeah.
So it really is key that that person is trained to do that particular activity.
Okay.
Okay.
So having completed the health and safety journey with Joe, what has Phil learned?
I think the thing I'm going to take from this is to be more aware of the risks around school and perhaps to be more proactive with them. Things like the chair in the corridor, and to move it rather than leave it there until someone falls over it.
Yeah.
Because it's nice to see what's going on in the school and have the opportunity to have a look. So perhaps we need to discuss as a staff what we should be doing for health and safety and how we should approach it.
Yeah, that's good.
I think also I'm going to be more aware of my own personal safety and perhaps try and plan in time to get my displays done rather than 10 minutes before I'm due home and rushing around, because that's how accidents will happen.